Welcome, I'm Deborah Kaufman with Broadcast Beat, and we're streaming live from the conference floor of the 2017 SMPTE. I have with me today Dominic Jackson, who's Product Manager, Enterprise Products for Telestream. Welcome, Dominic.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
So, Telestream, that is a company that's certainly been on my radar for a very long time.
Oh, yes.
So tell me about what's going on at Telestream.
So Telestream's been around for, I think, nearly 18 years now. We started off at 11 people, and I believe we're something over 400 now.
Wow.
So very significant growth, both organic growth and also multiple acquisitions over the last few years as well.
Right.
So it's been a very exciting ride.
So Telestream, I know, is very well known for your transcoding products, correct?
Absolutely.
And I understand that you're kind of getting involved in another part of our M&E business now.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, our DNA is transcoding, as it were. We've always been known for that, from Flip Factory through to Vantage. Over the last couple of years, we've also added a lot of capability around QC into the Telestream product family by means of two acquisitions. There was a company in the UK called VidCheck, and they had their VidChecker product for file-based QC, and then more recently, the people at InnoQuest joined the Telestream family, and their speciality is, again, QC, but something very different. They're actually monitoring the distribution networks that send content to customers, so cable networks or IP networks, OTT, and they're looking for issues in the distribution chain so that those can be tracked back to their source and rectified.
So in other words, their files can be corrupted in the pipeline as they
Yeah,
okay.
Data can become corrupted as it moves through the distribution chain.
And then VidCheck, you said that's file-based, so that's really, we're talking about the IP networks here, or are we talking?
We're talking media files.
Media files, okay,
So
all right.
on just a QuickTime file or IMXF file or whatever, IMF package, whatever it might be, on a hard drive somewhere.
So on all different kinds of media, in other words, not
absolutely,
just... Okay,
absolutely.
very good. So quality and measurement in today's media supply chain, you told me earlier, is not your father's QC anymore.
Absolutely not. I mean,
what does that mean?
It wasn't many years ago where when people said QC, they meant put a tape in a tape machine,
right.
Look at it on a monitor, listen to the audio. You may have had a vector scope, you may have had some kind of loudness or peak power meter for the audio, but that was it. It was eyes and ears.
Right.
And that, frankly, in today's world doesn't scale. People are too expensive. The number of media outlets is massively increasing. And the complexity of the testing that you have to do is vastly increased as well, such that some of it can't be done by a person. And so, the industry needs to and is moving towards a far more automated set of QC processes.
Right.
And increasingly sophisticated, increasingly intelligent systems QCing media. Either in files or streams or...
So in other words, the explosion of devices to watch content on and the explosion of media creation has just kind of overwhelmed
Absolutely.
the old analog system, so to speak?
Absolutely. Old infrastructure can't take it. You have to have a new paradigm.
So some of this is automated now, apparently.
Much of it is.
Much of it is automated.
Yes.
Talk about that. What are the automated services? Is it a product? Is it a service?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can still purchase a software license and stand up a server and run the software on the server.
Okay.
In the case of distribution networks, you can still purchase probes that sit in the network and monitor network traffic and make sure that everything's as it should be. But increasingly, physical probes may be getting replaced by pieces of virtualized equipment and software that you could run on premise. Those QC checks are also increasingly going to be available as services in the cloud. One of the great shifts, I think, in the media landscape at the moment is the tools that verify or manipulate media need to go wherever that media is. Moving large media around is an expensive proposition and time consuming. So if that media is on S3, you probably want some kind of tools in the AWS infrastructure that can analyze or transcode or whatever that media, or likewise for all the other big cloud providers.
So is that something that you have to partner with Amazon, for example, to get your technology in there? How does that work?
To some degree. So we do have what we refer to as Telestream cloud services. So we have a software as a service storefront on our website, and you can purchase various services through that storefront today, and there'll be more coming later. And in the back end, there'll be maybe running some stuff on Amazon and maybe running some stuff on a Google Cloud or an IBM Cloud or whatever it may be. And typically you would be able to choose which of those back ends you wanted to use based on the data, where your data is located.
So it sounds like QC is going to become really more ubiquitous.
Oh yeah, I think it has to.
Interesting.
I think as there's more and more content coming from more and more places, going to more and more places, I think QC has to become ubiquitous in both the B2B supply chain from production through to OTT providers or broadcasters, and also in the delivery chain from those OTT providers or broadcasters to consumers.
So when actually a piece of content may be QC'd many times?
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Right. And typically, the sooner you catch an error, the easier it is to fix and the cheaper it is to fix.
Because it's not so long of a going backwards to find the source?
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
And so the more frequently in the chain that you do QC checks, the quicker you're going to find things, the quicker you're going to fix things, the cheaper it's going to be for everybody.
Right. So Telestream, with your reputation, obviously, in doing transcoding, and working in the media and entertainment business, what has the company taken from that experience and been able to apply to this, newer business of QC?
We have a deep knowledge of the technology of media, file formats and video compression, audio compression, captioning. I mean, we have a deep expertise in the fields of captioning and subtitling as well. And all of that knowledge can play into not only transcoding, but also QC tools of various kinds.
Great. So in other words, that gives you a depth and a breadth that you wouldn't otherwise have. So how do your end clients, the people who create content, I mean, it's going through so many different processes, layers, screens, till it gets to the final device, which can be any one of, hundreds of devices. How do they have confidence that this is all working?
Again, ubiquitous checking of the content through the supply chain all the way to the end device. We have, particularly when we're talking about QC and the distribution network, a distinction we make between active monitoring and passive monitoring. And passive monitoring is just watching the data flow through the network. Active monitoring is setting up a client at the very edge of the network to deliberately receive that stream and check that it's valid. And we engage in both of those methodologies through the InnoQuest product line.
So I'm curious, I mean, is the human being entirely removed from this process? Is it all automated?
No, not yet, and probably never. There are some things that it is very, very difficult to teach a machine to do. Checking that the color balance between shots is correct and that kind of thing. you need experienced human eyes for some of these tasks. You may be in a situation where you can't tell if what I'm looking at is an image of a checkerboard or a badly compressed frame of video.
Right, exactly.
And so what we'll see particularly is what we refer to as assisted or hybrid QC, where potentially automated systems isolate areas where they think there may be issues, and that allows a human very quickly to traverse through a piece of media, only looking at the areas where the automated system has said there may be a problem, and then saying, yay, nay, this is okay, this isn't, it's a checkboard or it's a macro block.
So it becomes very efficient that way.
Very efficient.
But there's still a human...
There's still a human element, and at some point, there's a subjective quality assessment of, is this a good piece of content or a bad piece of content? And I don't think you're ever going to get a machine to tell you that.
No. So you don't think artificial intelligence can be, Watson can be trained to recognize these subjective things?
Watson can be, or the other deep learning AI systems out there can be trained to recognize an awful lot of things.
Okay.
But there will still, I think, always be a place for a human.
I'm glad to hear there will always be a place for a human. So are there other ways that you see a QC evolving in the next few years?
I mean, I think to your point, I do see deep learning techniques and AIs and things picking up some of those QC tasks. You'll see some, I think, kind of interesting offerings from Telestream around that over the next few years. Our very first foray or productized foray into that world has just been announced, where we're using cloud-based deep learning systems to convert speech into text with a level of reliability that's really would have been unheard of even a couple of years ago, so that you can send the audio up into this cloud service and get back text with timing data that can be rapidly converted into closed captions. Again, speeding up the human part of the process.
So it's in other words, it's speech to text that has with time code. That's
yes,
been
absolutely.
That seems like quite the feat.
Yes.
And what is the name of this product again?
Time text speech.
Okay.
And that again is available. I talked about our software as a service storefront. That's available there. You can sign up, get a test account, send some stuff up, play with it. And that's very applicable for things like rapidly being able to create closed captions or subtitles, right. But equally, that text data is highly valuable as a searchable text stream, so that you can locate certain pieces of the content as you edit or whatever else. So there are multiple uses for these technologies.
Well, I know those technologies are often used by documentaries, any kind of production with huge quantities of
absolutely,
of
with
film.
high shoot ratios. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very appealing.
Yeah.
Great. So that's out in the market.
That is out now.
And
yes.
Any projects that are using it that we can talk about?
It's only just out in the market, so not yet.
So the next time we get together, you can talk about some of these
absolutely.
projects.
I'd love to do that. Yes.
Wonderful. And being here at SMPTE, why is it important for you as an individual in the business?
The conversations. I mean, the papers are great. You learn a lot. There's some very smart people out there talking about some very amazing technologies and interesting topics. But the conversations you have with your colleagues, frequently, maybe even I was talking to a colleague who fills a similar role to me in a possibly even competitive company, but it's kind of good to talk to guys who do the same thing that you do, and share some experiences, and people where you maybe face the same problems in your day-to-day world, and so on. So it's as much about the conversations outside the sessions as it is about the sessions themselves.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I look forward to catching up with you in terms of Telestream's work in the very near future.
I look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.